So we're going to do the short little meditation after the talk, and it will be clear to you why. How's my sound? Today, I'd like to tell you a story. No surprise there. This is a true story set in Cincinnati, probably about in the 80s somewhere, about a very successful journalist whose name was Cynthia. Cynthia had regularly attended the Catholic Church when she was younger, but it had been over 20 years since she had attended Mass. And one Christmas Eve, her two adult children and her husband were off doing their own thing, and she was home by herself, feeling lonely and restless. She just needed to get out of the house. So she went for a walk on that cold Christmas Eve evening. She walked until she came to a little Catholic church where a priest was conducting Christmas Eve services. The church was small, a bit shabby, and filled with people who looked like they had nowhere else to go. And since she had nowhere else to be either, she quietly entered the sanctuary and took a seat in the back, where she could see, but not really be seen. There's a certain dynamic to that scenario, wanting to see, but also not wanting to be seen, to be invisible, to be close to the holy, but please don't see me. After all, if she were seen, what would people think? What might she have to participate in? And then what would she do? No, she would just observe from the back of the sanctuary. Thank you very much. This is not a comment on anyone sitting in the back of this sanctuary. I just want to make that clear. There is no condemnation here. Now, communion is always an integral part of every Catholic Mass. And when it was time for communion, she was surprised when someone approached her and asked if she would take the communion bread up to the altar. She said no, she did not want to do that. And yet she found herself walking up to the altar with the communion bread. When she handed the bread to the priest at the altar, she saw his beautiful smile and she felt very welcomed. Now, after the priest had prepared the communion elements of the bread and the wine, but before offering them to the congregants, he walked over to the side of the altar and slid open a small wooden grill that she had not seen before. And he offered communion to a woman sitting behind the grill that had on a black veil. And Cynthia was curious. Ever the journalist, she wanted to know. So after Mass, she asked the priest about the veiled woman behind the screen. He explained that this church was a part of the Franciscan order, hence the prayer of St. Francis. I knew you would see that right away. Now, let me just tell you a bit about the Franciscan order. It's a Catholic order founded in the early 13th century by St. Francis of Assisi, and it is characterized by a simple, poverty-oriented life, preaching the gospel, serving the poor, and a deep love for all of creation, all of the tenets of St. Francis of Assisi. He explained that as part of the Franciscan order, they housed the nuns of the Order of the Poor Clares, and that he had given communion to Mother Michael of that order. Now, the Order of Poor Clares was founded by Clare of Assisi in conjunction with Francis. They were friends. And when Francis formed the Franciscans, she came to him and wanted something for the women. So they founded the Poor Clares. The Poor Clares had the same format basically as the Franciscans. They're under that umbrella, but they live in seclusion, okay? They are cloistered. Once they enter the convent, they never leave, ever. Well, Cynthia was fascinated, especially after she learned that some of the nuns, including Mother Michael, had been cloistered there for over 50 years. Cynthia had never heard of this order of Poor Clares. She had no idea that right there in the middle of Cincinnati, there were religious women who had not left the convent in so many years. She could almost taste a great story and asked for an interview with Mother Michael. She was told that that was not going to be possible because they were very busy. Busy? She was busy. She had a home, a mortgage, a husband, children, a dog, a job. She was busy. Just what were they doing in there that made them so busy? The answer was as confusing as it was simple. They are busy praying. Praying? What are they praying for? She thought. They might be praying for world peace or the homeless or the oppressed. And yet the priest's reply was a shot straight to her gut. He said, they are praying for you. She was not expecting that they would be praying for her. Now she really wanted an interview and pressed the issue. The priest reiterated that the nuns were cloistered, very busy, and did not have time. So, taking a different approach, Cynthia asked if he would deliver a letter to Mother Michael with a request for an interview. He said yes, he would do that, but they were very busy. Cynthia went home and painstakingly prepared her letter. It read like a fancy resume, including all her years of experience, her accomplishments, everything she'd written, all her accolades, and asked for an interview in the hope that she could write an article about the Order of Poor Clares there in Cincinnati. The next Sunday, she came for Mass, and after service, she gave the letter to the priest, asked if he would deliver it to Mother Michael. He said, yes, I'll do that, but they're very busy. So the next Sunday, she attended Mass, and after the Mass, she approached the priest and she said, is there any word from Mother Michael? He said, no, no word. They are very busy. So after that, she started attending Mass every Sunday. And every Sunday, she would gently inquire if there was an answer from Mother Michael. And the reply was always, no, they are very busy. And yet she continued to attend Mass every Sunday. Isn't this how the divine works in our life? We think we choose a path. We think we know where we are going and how we're going to get there and what it's going to look like when we arrive. And yet somewhere along the line, we realize that God is the one who's driving the whole thing. We may even end up somewhere we had never envisioned, never even thought about, and maybe even ask ourselves, how did I get here? And yet the result is so much more than we ever could have imagined. Somehow God knew exactly just what was needed and where we needed to go. It never ceases me how subtly God can maneuver our lives. God leads us, sometimes gently, sometimes not so gently. Yes, that was funny. You can laugh. And where God wants us to go, we are told, we are informed. And it is our job to listen and make the appropriate choices that align with God's will. So while Cynthia waited for her reply from Mother Michael, God led her back to church again and again. Every week she showed up and thought she was doing a favor for the church, just showing up. And she would ask, is there any word yet? And the answer was always no, they are very busy. Not to be put off, she decided she needed to try something different and maybe she would impress Mother Michael. So she wrote an article for the newspaper about this little church where a group of cloistered nuns prayed for the world. Well, the story did make the newspaper, and people were drawn to this place where holy women prayed for them. I understand this kind of thinking. It's seductive to ask another to pray for you, someone who you may feel has a deeper connection to the divine. It is tempting to leave it in their capable hands. After all, it might work better because they have a better connection, a better understanding of God. And I can just leave my prayers with them and then go back to my life as normal. Don't get me wrong. I think praying for others is a very powerful practice, but it does not lessen our personal responsibility to and for our own prayer life. Sermon is now ended. Come on, that was funny. All right, so back to Cincinnati. Now, with so many reading about the nuns who prayed for others, this little Catholic church was starting to fill up each week, and we know what that means. Filling up the pews means a healthier church. So, buoyed by the success of her article, Cynthia approached the priest again, asking if Mother Michael was aware of her article and how much she had done for the church. The priest replied that Mother Michael did not know. She was cloistered and very busy. Cynthia was frustrated and yet continued to attend Mass every Sunday. After a year, she still had not heard from Mother Michael. She was not used to working so hard for a simple interview. Why hadn't someone noticed everything that she had done for that church? Then another 6 months goes by, and finally she got the long-awaited letter. It said, "Dear Cynthia, thank you for your request. I cannot grant it at this time. We are very busy. Mother Michael." I can only imagine her frustration. After all that she had done, how could Mother Michael be so busy? Cynthia was sitting right in the middle of her sense of entitlement. You know, the mindset that says, I'm a good person. I've worked hard. I do good things. This is just not right. They owe me, whoever they are, and this they absolutely includes God. Now, if we are honest, I think that all of us at one time or another have felt this way, even if only for a flash of time. But God works in mysterious ways, and Cynthia continued to attend Mass each week. After 2 years, she decided to try again. This request, however, was different. Instead of an attitude of entitlement, feeling that Mother Michael owed her the interview, her new request was grounded in humility and gratitude. Gratitude for how the church had enriched her life. And to this request, Mother Michael said yes. Yes, she would grant an interview. It's amazing how things change when we move into an attitude of humility and gratitude. So now finally it was time for the long-awaited interview. Cynthia was so excited. She had never waited so long for anything. And in the convent, when the wooden grill was slid back, there she was, side by side with Mother Michael. Finally, after all this time. So a wall is separating them. And they're sitting side by side. Here's the wall between them. And there's the grill that opens up. Then they can see each other and talk. Cynthia started the conversation by asking how long Mother Michael had been in the convent, how long this, what about that. This went on for a while. And finally, Mother Michael stopped her and said, "Why don't you ask the question that is on your mind?" And Cynthia's reply was swift and simple. What was it like to have God call your name? And this is the wonderful story that Mother Michael told her. Over 50 years before, she had been on a career path to becoming a great artist. She had made her debut in Rome with an art show that had been very successful, and she was looking forward to an amazing career. The art show had been beautiful. She was so excited and so happy. She knew that her life would never be the same. And since she was in Rome, she walked to St. Peter's Basilica, kneeled on a prayer bench, and said a prayer of gratitude. Now, if you have ever been in St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, you know how beautiful it is and how sacred and how holy. So she's praying in St. Peter's Basilica, and she looks up and she hears God say to her, "Come to me." And she said the first thing that came to her mind, "Oh, no, please, not now. No, not now." And God said again to her, "Come to me now," which she did. She got up, she left her paintings, she left Rome, she returned to the United States, where she entered the convent of the Poor Clares and spent the rest of her life in prayer for others. I think we are all searching for the sacred, something very deep and holy. We want to hear God's guidance. We want to hear God call our name, to be acknowledged and loved by the divine. Yes, we yearn for this, but we also fear the very thing that we yearn for. For how is this going to change my life? What is going to be required of me? We want this intimacy with the divine. We want to be able to love more fully. We want to be able to forgive more readily. We want to grow in gratitude. We are waiting for that phenomenal experience of that something deep inside, which awakens a profound sense that we are sacred. And yet we fear the changes that come with this. We fear the changes that this recognition brings. Are we ready for the new tasks? Are we ready to listen to God call our name? Yes, we crave a deeper connection with God. We yearn to know that we matter. And we are waiting for that one small experience of God, listening for God to call our name. And yet, God is always calling our name. We just may not have heard it or recognized it yet. So I invite you to take a couple of minutes to get very quiet and close your eyes and listen. Listen for that still small voice within you, because that voice is God calling. Listen for that voice. Listen. God is calling. God is calling you. Do you hear? Amen.
Well, thank you very much. That was wonderful. I'm sure we all agree.